6% in 17, 25% in 18. Until this year, as it's currently up at 40.5% with a 19.8 swinging strike rate. The reliever is allowing hard contact at a 37.8% rate with a 42.2% fly ball rate. But he's also paired it with a 15.8% infield fly rate. Based on what he's done since the 2016 season, it looks like he got back to what's mostly worked from the standpoint of his pitch mix. Giles' slider is where he's getting the majority of his strikeouts, 54.8% rate. And overall success, 15 WRC plus against from. He's also enjoyed pitching at home since he's yet to allow an earned run in 10 2/3 innings. The same can be said about his month of May, as he's been untouched for 8 1/3 frames entering Thursday's games. And our last player on this list of players is Avisail Garcia, Tampa Bay Rays. 2018 F4 of 0, 2019 F4 so far, F1.3. Similar to Giolito, it wasn't going to be a huge undertaking for Garcia to outperform last year's F4. His current numbers have a 291 average, a 352 BP, and a 511 slugging, 130 WRC plus through 199 plate appearances. Actually resemble his 2017 breakout with the White Sox. The good part is there are some good peripherals to back it up. Garcia's 44.5% hard hit rate is on pace to improve for the 5th consecutive season, and it's accompanied by a 43.8% ground ball rate, which would be a career best mark if the season ended today. He's still swinging a lot, a 55.8% swing rate, and missing a lot, 19.4% swinging strike rate. But at least his chase rate is down slightly at the moment, 43.9% to 40.3%. The outfielder has gotten to this point thanks to a huge month of May. Even his production starts to tail off, even if it starts to tail off moving forward, Tampa Bay has gotten plenty of bang for its buck after signing Garcia to a 1-year, $3.5 million deal over the winter. So those were our 10 MLB players that have already eclipsed their performances in 2018. If any of them are available on the waiver wire, I would strongly suggest going after them, and if you can get them for cheap in a trade, I would also suggest doing that too. If you can move like a Brett Anderson or a Sandy Alcantara, would be a big move to get one of those guys. I was talking a little about Nolan Arenado. Death, taxes, and Nolan Arenado mashing baseballs on a nightly basis. Those are the only 3 guarantees in life, except for the first month of the 2019 MLB regular season. The Colorado Rockies' latest franchise cornerstone and newest $260 million man got off to an uncharacteristically slow start to his age 28 campaign. But when we say slow, we mean it was slow for him and not too shabby for anyone else. Through the third baseman's first 129 plate appearances, he hit for a 271 average, a 318 OBP, and a 500 slugging with 6 home runs and 21 RBIs. While those are more than respectable numbers, they sussed out to a 94 WRC plus, which is much lower than we're used to seeing from Arenado by the end of April. His career March last April WRC plus is 121, and he's been above that number each year from 2016 to 18, 160, 132, and 134. The perennial Gold Glover made up for lost time during the past month in an effort to make that slow start, for him at least, a distant memory as the calendar prepares to flip to June. When someone goes off as much as Arenado has in the month of May, he's one of baseball's best hitters in May heading into Wednesday's action when looking at WRC+. It's always worth peeking at the side-by-side comparison. And he still is, May was a wonderful month for him. This incredible performance has boosted his season-long statistics to levels we've become accustomed to seeing from Arenado too. Through 234 plate appearances, he's hit for a 333 average, a 380 OBP, 629 slugging with 15 home runs and 46 RBIs, good for a 143 WRC plus and a 2.3 F4. Since the regular season just passed the 1/3 mark, Arenado is well on the way to his 5th consecutive year of 35-plus homers and 110-plus RBIs, along with his 4th straight 5-plus F4 performance. After a disappointing 13-17 starters in the squad, it's not surprising that Colorado has enjoyed a winning month of May and is now back above 500, sitting at 30-27, with the veteran third baseman leading the way. With such a drastic change in offensive production, you better believe that some of Arenado's peripheral stats look ridiculous when compared to one another. His BABIP has gone from 252 in March and April all the way up to 405 in May. heading into Wednesday's games. That's obviously unsustainable for the long term, but his batted ball profile has proved he's earned it more than you'd originally think. This complete about face at the plate has basically brought each of these numbers to the same neighborhood as they were last year on a season-long level. Something that has been made a noticeable change throughout each month is an improved strikeout rate. Arenado is one of those power hitters that doesn't strike out a ton. He owns a career strikeout rate of 15.1%, but he went down on strikes at a career worst 18.1% clip in 2018. Thus far in 2019, though, this number is all the way down to 10.3%. Even if we drill down to just his strikeout rate in May, 12.4%, that'd be the lowest it's been since 2014. As with any Rockies hitter, Coors Field has to be brought into the conversation. And like most Colorado hitters, Arenado has been much better at home at 130 WRC plus than on the road, 110 WRC plus throughout his career, but he's still an above average offensive producer. While the third baseman's home OPS of a 1,103 is significantly higher than his road OPS of 931, they're still both incredibly good. Plus, there's not a huge difference in WRC+. When looking at the specific split, 150 at home, 139 on the road. He actually has a slightly higher ISO away from Coors at the moment, with 9 out of his 15 homers coming on the road. The Rockies have struggled on offense as a team over the last couple years, so it's important for guys like Arenado, Trevor Story, and Charlie Blackmon to carry the load. The organization's third baseman didn't dominate like usual in April, and they're likely struggled part because of it. He's back now, though, and Colorado is reaping the benefits as they attempt to stay in the playoff hunt and reach October for the third consecutive season. And it's currently in the standings. They are a game back of the Cubs and Braves for that wild card spot. A child's drawing of Bill Buckner was displayed proudly on a wall in the Chicago Cubs clubhouse at Ho-Ho-Com Park in Mesa. An entire elementary school class in Chicago signed it, telling Buckner he was their favorite player and wishing him good luck in the 1979 season. I'm sure players must get these kinds of things all the time. This was only one I remember being given such prominence. A few years later, at the concession stand one morning at Fitch Park, essentially the backfields of the Cubs spring training operation in Arizona at the time, Bill Buckner changed his life. And pretty much what I want to say here is that Bill Buckner was given a bad hop. He was. And, that's what he's remembered for. And I just want to take a moment on the show right now to send my condolences first to the Buckner family, and just to give a moment to remember Bill Buckner, because he had that bad hop, and it's unfair that is what he's remembered for. It really is. So Chris Archer took the mound for the Pittsburgh Pirates to face the Los Angeles Dodgers a week ago yesterday. LA is one of the baseball's best offenses, and unfortunately for the 30-year-old, they once again looked the part. The right-hander just lasted 5 innings, allowing 4 runs on 6 hits, 1 home run, 6 walks, and 3 strikeouts. This is just a continuation of a rough start to 2019 for Archer, who now owns a 5.75 ERA, 1.55 WHIP, 21.7% strikeout rate, and 13% walk rate through 40 2/3 innings. His issues have been going on longer than just this season, though. Archer has struggled at times to look like the ace he was in his younger days with the Tampa Bay Rays since getting traded to Pittsburgh in exchange for Austin Meadows and Tyler Glasnow. It hasn't exactly been fun. This is not the kind of pitcher Pittsburgh was hoping to get under a team-friendly deal, especially since Glasnow looked like an American League Cy Young candidate prior to his recent injury. While Meadows owns a 185 WRC plus with 10 homers and 27 RBIs through his first 143 plate appearances, Tampa is happy with this trade, but what exactly is going on with Archer? Way too many walks. His current 13% walk rate would easily be a career worst mark, which just so happens to coincide with a 66.4% strand rate. That'd also be the worst number he's produced in a full season if sustained throughout 2019. Overall contact rate allowed hasn't changed much, 72.8% in 18, 73.3% in 19, but the route in which opposing hitters are getting there sure has. The opposition is chasing just 27.8% of Archer's pitches out of the strike zone, 33.5% last year. And one would have to imagine it's because he's not getting ahead early in counts. His current first pitch strike rate of 57.3% would also be a career worst mark. This has led to the right-hander allowing hard contact at a 41.6% clip. And if you're seeing the trend here, that number is also on pace to be the worst in his big league career, and way too many homers. After allowing a then career worst 1.34 homers per 9 innings with the Rays in 2016, Archer had been steadily improving with that number. It started with a 1.21 mark in 17 before getting down even lower to 1.15 in 18. That number through 8 starts is 1.77. What's most concerning is what his batted ball profile looks like at this point in the season. Archer has typically been the kind of pitcher that generates a lot of ground balls. Entering 2019, he finished a full season with a ground ball rate lower than 44% just once, 42% in 17. At the moment, Archer's ground ball rate is 35.4%. The significant drop in this category has gone straight to his fly ball rate, which is all the way up at 46%. Entering the season, it had never been higher than 36% in a full year's worth of innings. Those two factors included with a hard hit rate that continues to stay elevated when compared to the last couple seasons is a recipe for disaster. And based on how his season stats look so far, that's exactly what's happened. So looking forward, when the Pirates won this deal with the Tampa Bay last July, the front office likely viewed it as a unique way to make a win-now move. Plus, it made sense financially, as Archer is under team control through 2021 via club options worth less than $10 million per year. There's still a ways to go before officially proclaiming a winner for this transaction, but it's certainly tipping in the Rays' favor right now. Pittsburgh will continue leading on the past track record while waiting for a turnaround. After all, he's a 2-time All-Star, and as recently as 2017, and has one top 5 Cy Young finish under his belt. He had all of his success in the American League East, which isn't any easy division to pitch in. There are some clear problems going on, though, and the 30-year-old needs to figure them out quickly. It's possible he's trying to learn how to live life without an overpowering fastball. After posting an average velocity of 95.5 miles per hour in 17, a career high, it's gone down each season and is currently 93.2 miles per hour, the lowest it's ever been. Learning how to pitch differently can take a while to grasp. Just ask CC Sabathia and Clayton Kershaw, who have gone through those same kinds of pains. In a hyper-competitive National League Central, Pittsburgh has no margin for error, so they need Archer to get on track in short order. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the show in the very beginning, I'm a huge Pittsburgh Pirates fan. They're my team. As you know, I host the Pirates podcast at the Baseball Podcast Network with Bucko Booth. The good news in the whole Archer situation, if you have him on your fantasy team, is that he really turned it around on Friday night. He did give up 4 runs, but he pitched 7 innings, struck out 7, and outside of the home runs, he allowed 2 base runners. You know, Keston Hiura had the 3-run homer, and Jesus Aguilar had a home run as well, and that is what, you know, drove Archer's problems in that, but he 2 base runners outside of this. So he pitched well. And it is a growing pains issue, I believe, with dealing with that fastball, and then he needs to throw strikes. He's trying to figure out what to do with his fastball because its velocity is dipped. He's not throwing first pitch strikes, which leads to hitters not chasing the sliders, which leads to walks. And if he wants to come into the zone with his fastball, it's not as good as it used to be, so it's getting hit harder. And as I said, it's been a recipe for disaster. But Chris Archer, I believe he figured it out last start. So it will be interesting to see how he does on Thursday against the Atlanta Braves at PNC Park. All right, that's going to do it for our show this evening. Thank you for tuning in live or archived. We appreciate it. It's been a fun debut podcast. I've had 2 debuts today with BPN Weekly and BPN Fantasy. If you tuned in to both, a huge shout out to you finishing the 2 hours with me. It's been fun. Definitely excited to come back out here next week and just continue talking some fantasy baseball with you guys. And hope you all tune into my Pirates podcast for more Chris Archer stuff. Bucko Booth are Saturdays. And then BPN Weekly as well. They are on Sundays right before BPN Fantasy. We take a half-hour intermission before. So again, my name is Benson Fector. This has been the Baseball Podcast Network's Fantasy Baseball Show. BPN Fantasy. Be here next Sunday for another great episode of Fantasy Baseball for the fantasy baseball player themselves. I'll see you next week, guys.